Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Will Keller, and this is what I call the Will Tell Truth podcast, video podcast. I like to interview people, and it's not on a schedule. I do this every once in a while with people that I am well connected with, or I'm interested in, or really need to be showcased. And my guest today, Dr. Dustin Plattner, has been on this podcast before. He is actively doing the one great work. He has fantastic content out there, and was also a presenter at the Funnel 4 conference that many people might have seen. And I'm excited to bring him back on, and we're going to have a round 2 Free As Above, which is also his website, freeasabove.xyz. People can go there and check out his work. We're going to get into some really cool topics and also some great projects that Dustin has lined up and in the works, and it's going to be fantastic. So thank you all for joining. Get some people in the chat, give a shout out, let me know where you're chatting from. And this is Monday. We're gonna have to bring back the Moral Law Monday live streams that my buddy John initiated and I participated in. That was really fun. Of course, it was on the streets. Now we're taking it to the digital realm, and I'm excited. But without further ado, let's get into it. I will bring my good friend Dustin on. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
What's up, Will? Thank you for the invite. Really exciting to be here and really grateful. It was a blast being on your show last time, and yeah, we've got some cool stuff, and I'm glad we can take this time to really connect. It's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Appreciate it.
man. For sure. Yeah, you did the How to Become the True Media seminar last year, 2024, but you were already doing presentations and making content. And without a short bio of who you are, short, direct, to the point, and we'll get into some good topics, because you got a great background and you're a wealth of information and activation. So go for it.
Man, thanks, Will. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Dr. Dustin Plattner. Yeah, I have my doctorate degree in clinical psychology, and I did a lot of doctoral work in child psychology and child psychoanalysis. And then obviously really loving esoteric thought and occult works, and really loving that process and understanding what nature is, and then how that informs child development, and how nature can really help us understand ourselves and help parents. So really excited about that stuff, and that's what I've been doing. That's been my focus recently, and yeah, it's been a good thing. So that's who I am.
Excellent. And people that know my work, obviously I'm a huge advocate for conscious parenting. I am an unschooled single father as well, so I got the full spectrum gambit. And that this is the root, this is the area that people need to consider. They need to first and foremost educate themselves, talking about parents, on what do these terms mean that we use. Like, I've used conscious parenting, and sure, it's a trendy term nowadays, right? It's almost overly used. But as with any category, what does it mean, right? People need to educate themselves. And obviously, in today's world where even co-parenting is the norm, and there's just so much polarization, different types of idioms, and parents are on all different types of spectrums, and education 100% is crucial and critical. And I think what we do, our own responsibility and accountability. And it's good to, something I've been saying recently when I talk about this topic, it's good to understand that there is no perfection in reality. It's, as you said, Dustin, in your funnel presentation, right? Being a parent, it's about being good enough. Having those first principles, those key components, the objective principles that parents must know, and doing the best that you can. I see this constantly. I've gotten messages and emails. Parents want the A to Z script on, give me everything that I need to do. I need to dot all my I's and cross all my T's. And that's just not how life is, right? We're going to have failures. We're going to have successes. We're going to have hardships, and pivoting it's part of life. So I think one topic that's important that you touched on in the funnel presentation is a good place to start. The title of your presentation at Funnel 4, Transforming Our Narcissistic Wounds into Divine Care. If you would, my brother, explain why you kind of picked this topic and why that topic is important, because go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we all stand in our own trauma as adults, and we're all on a range, right? From folks that had pretty good parenting and dynamics growing up to folks that had really heavy abuse and really a broken down family system. And yeah, like you were saying, Will, we it's the responsibility that we have to take and look at that, but it's hard because there's so much shame around it and what we're holding on to. And if it's a heavy trauma or something to that nature, it's really hard to share it because we got to find safe people to share that with. So we walk around wounded. And what I meant by narcissistic woundedness is narcissism is actually a really good thing because while we're developing the it's mirroring is what I'm talking about. Not in my presentation. If anyone watched it or will watch it in the future, you will see that the narcissistic disorder is what causes all the stuff in adults, and that's what it's really tough to manage. But we all, when we're little, we need that mirroring back. And mirroring just simply means, like, for example, if your child's happy, the child will be like, "Oh," the parent, the caregiver will be like, "Oh, I see that you're really happy," right? Or yeah, I see you're really angry. I can hear that. It's a mirroring back of the emotional world. So your child feels seen. They know that you know. That's the most important thing. And and as parents aim for that dynamic, as you aim for that dynamic, if you're a parent of your child, as you aim for that dynamic over and over of mirroring back, you develop a sense of self in the child. They know that they're being seen by their world. You, as the caregiver, are their world, and they're being reflected back into. And that's that mirroring piece, that healthy narcissism. So what I'm saying, we have to realize as all adults, there's a lot of us, and we're on a range of that mirroring didn't happen as what we needed. And that is what it is. Okay. But now as adults, then it's our responsibility to move that forward and begin to strengthen our sense of self inside. So that was this arc, that overall arc of my talk. And it goes inside with us being adults now. And then also it helps parents understand that dynamic so they can begin implementing that process in their parenting.
I love it. And you did a fantastic presentation. It's
Yeah,
such
thanks.
like,
Like,
I mean, you put in some really important information that I really wasn't, aware of on certain aspects of that presentation. So it was very intriguing. It had my attention. It's hard in a conference like that where you just get a little time slot and it's like, with
yeah.
a big topic. So you did a really great job at kind of
Thank you.
defining and giving some valuable information, and also, like you said, getting down to that root, right? The origins. And narcissism is another trendy thing. I mean, anyone that has been in a relationship in the modern age has probably been called a narcissist, or has
Yes.
called someone a narcissist. It's something that people throw at other people. They use it constantly. Again, what does that mean? And I
Yes.
think the kind of the concept that the ego is bad and the ego must be depleted, extinguished, really comes from New Thought, New Age kind of, psychology and circles and cults as well. And I mean, that is very detrimental because, like you said, with the mirroring aspect of infants and children's. Like, this is what human nature is. We
We're
are
relational.
programmable.
Hmm.
Yes, 100%. And it's all about our relationships in reality. And of course, it's going to start in the family dynamic with mom and dad.
Hmm. Yep, 100%. And that's that's so critical. I think that's one of the biggest pieces to understand about parenting. If you're going to be a parent or parents that had children already, that's a big piece to understand about the relational dynamic of our species. And it's that mirroring back and forth. Um, and that's above all the other techniques, and you need to do this and all this stuff and all that
Mm,
dynamic. This is sort of the root core of us. And that mirroring piece, or the narcissistic mirroring, right? That piece is so important. Um, because as you talked about the ego, when I said sense of self, I sort of use those interchangeably. The ego sense of self is what we're talking about. Um, it is saying, this is me with a boundary, and this is the world outside. It's not diffuse where the boundaries are permeable, but it's like, oh, here I am, and there they are, and now we can interact together. That's the dynamic we want to build in our children. And mirroring back to them, having that concept in mind, really helps begin to build that system in your child. And this begins to then prevent where it does go really sour in adulthood if someone didn't get that mirroring, or more trauma in their mirroring. They begin to show traits of this narcissistic personality disorder, which is a psychological diagnosis, right? And that's where, yes, in relationships where, oh, you're a narcissist and things like that. Well, there's traits that do come out in folks, and it just depends on how heavy they were traumatized when they were younger. Really, that's sort of the key component.
absolutely. Parenting, right? So our child's needs are so important.
Mhm.
Why I think the mirroring aspect is vital to talk about. And we're going to show an experiment by a gentleman. What's his name again?
Dr. Tronick, yeah, Edward Tronick.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Excellent. Yeah, the still face experience. And it's straightforward. So in a few minutes, we'll show the viewers this to give them an example of what that is. When
Mhm,
you were
mhm.
talking about this in your presentation, I had a big, fat, cheesy smile on my face because this
Good.
was something that my daughter's mother and I, when we were together and,
Uh-huh.
we were a family in the same house, we were very big on mirroring. Even though
Mm,
we couldn't
mhm,
define it like that, it was all
mhm,
about
mhm,
quality time, face to face time, the needs of our
mhm,
child, speaking to our children, singing and interacting on that level. You
mhm,
when you're a parent, you hear so much incorrect information, like don't let your child sleep with you because they'll get too needy, they'll get
mhm,
attached, let your baby cry it out once in a
mhm,
while, right? You hear these
mhm,
kind of things that for
mhm,
most, well, for some people that are kind of in tune with themselves, especially women, that has a visceral instinctual response. And I've
mhm,
talked to many women that just didn't sit right to let your baby cry it out, or
mhm,
to detach from your child in some manner.
mhm.
And of course, in the modern age, with phones and people are stuck and distracted so much,
Yes.
absolutely, there's that level of unconscious neglect that is taking place.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, right on. The the process of bonding is, by its natural state, will have its ebbs and flows. Um, there really isn't a necessary thing where you have to pull away and let your child do something. It's just going to be the ebbs and flow of life where you're going to miss your child. um, I think it was uh, John Bowlby. I think he said this. He was a child psychoanalyst, did really well with attachment styles, and just a wonderful researcher. And he was saying that the mother will miss the child every 30 seconds, will miss a tune to the child every 30 seconds. And so now again, as I talked about in the presentation, this is really important to know is you have to be good enough. You cannot be perfect as well. This is what you were saying, Will. You have to be good enough. And you won't get it right every time. Um, so the need to sort of uh, be intentionally pulling away and let them cry it out, I don't think that's quite necessary because just the natural rhythm of connecting in life will build that bond. Um, and another piece that just came to my mind, which is important, which I was sharing in one of my YouTube shorts, is the breaking and repair. And I think this is really important because all relationships are built on breaking and repair. It breaks down, and this is this Dr. Tronic video that Will was referring to. You'll see it in real time where the child, even before words, she's so young she doesn't have words, but you can see the powerful complexity of language that's even being displayed without vocabulary. And you can see how there's a break and then there's a repair. And that's what Dr. Tronic will talk about in the video of the good, bad, and the ugly. The good is there's an immediate connection, right? And then the bad is there's a misconnection, a misattunement. But then the repair comes. So that's good because breaking and repair. And then the ugly is when there's a misattunement, but then there's no parent coming in to repair it. And that's where that's the foundation of seeding in trauma happens. So, as parents, we just have to understand that the breaking and repair is natural. Just in any relationship that you've ever been in, or I've been in, or anybody's been in, as you bond as an adult, yeah, you'll connect, and then there'll be a letdown, there'll be a disappointment. As long as you're following natural law and not being awful with each other, but following natural law, there's going to be letdowns, there's going to be disappointments. And then that's then the opportunity to start, okay, how to repair and come back. So not only what we're talking about with children and the dynamic of the parent and the child, this also, the law of correspondence, moves into adult relationships and adult bonding. So yes, again, I think those are really key components to think about as we're thinking about this bonding dynamic that we're talking about.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah, really good points. We got to watch this video now because I know we can kind of, go further on, but you did a great
Sure.
setup for this video. So again, let me pull this up. And again, this is the still face experiment. When was this experiment done?
This video is pretty old, probably in 2006. I'm just shooting from the hip. But
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and play it.
I can't hear any audio. Hey, Will, are you hearing the audio? I'm just wondering if you are, that's good.
Yes, I can. Can you?
I cannot hear the audio.
Can someone in the chat say if they can hear the video audio? Let me see. Let me make sure here real quick. If I got the sound
no
on.
worries.
Yeah, if you're not hearing it. That's weird. Hold on one second, guys.
Yeah, when I was making my presentation, I was like, okay, how do I get this audio in here? Oh yeah, Elliot. Thanks, Elliot. He said no, he couldn't hear it.
Got it.
Apocalypse of the Occult.
I got you. Okay, let me see if I'm doing something. Doing it on the fly, guys.
That's right.
I'm going to do a different method real quick. Okay. Couple more minutes. I was curious if you were thinking about doing an expanded version of the Funnel 4 conference, because I'm sure that could go into many other different types of topics. But I'm
Yes.
always fascinated with early life, early stage development. I think this is something that needs to be driven home for people to really fully understand those formative years, where most of it, this is the epicenter. This is where it starts in many cases.
And it's so crucial for the one great work as well, right? It's so, and the one great work is just helping us take responsibility for our own actions, not stealing from people, and loving on and using love to help us grow, and using a force to stop violence. I mean, this is just natural what nature is. So understanding the dynamics of bonding and how we relate as
And
humans
there's still
is
faith.
so, yep, I can hear the audio. Yep.
Cool.
Bonding and human, and how we bond as humans, is so essential, because we need to understand this for us to develop and get on the right foot to move forward, and
That's
to
right.
help us grow as a species in enlightenment, and to help us grow spiritually. We first have to understand how we're operating.
Yeah.
And I think it's been so occulted, or so flipped on its head, and a lot of misinformation, or just information that doesn't quite capture these things. And so it's so important that we're talking about this, because this information needs to be commonplace, I think, in our minds as we move forward. Yeah.
100%. This is spiritual elementary.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We cannot go higher into the school of just cosmic relations until we pass those first grades. Humanity as a species. We don't. The majority of human beings don't know how to operate. They don't know what rights are. They don't know the difference between right and wrong. They don't know what sovereignty is. They're abdicating externally their own empowerment to tyrants and psychopaths. So we're not going to progress until, like you said, 100% true, it's common sense. Common sense knowledge. All right. So without further ado, little pivot there. Let's check out this video.
In this still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby, who's about a year of age.
I'm like a girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this, and then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, "Come on, why aren't we doing this?" Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions. They turn away. They feel the stress of it. They actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay. I'm here. And what are you doing? Oh, yes. Oh, what a big girl.
There we go. There we go. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, again, if you would explain the break and repair after people have seen that video. Expand a little bit more on that.
Well, on the onset, as you and I are talking about it, it's quite intellectual, right? But once you actually see and then you can feel that dynamic, then you know what it is true. It rings right in your heart. If you're a caring being, you can realize it, right? And it's so palpable. Um, and like I said, there is no language, verbal language, right? But there's also this huge body language and emotional language that's going on. And Dr. Tronick picked up on it correctly. Soon as it was almost instant, that emotional energy of that young baby picked up on her mother, just instant. And there was no forethought. There was no cognitive, the prefrontal cortex wasn't, because it's not developed yet fully in the baby. It wasn't online. Okay, let me think. It was instantly in the root of the limbic system. That's the part of the brain that interacts quickly with emotionality. And it was instantly in her whole nervous system as soon as the mother went still. So we can see how palpable, how dynamic this is in us as men and women and children. You can see how real that is. Um, and this is, and Dr. Tronick, he sort of does a commentary on the end of it. But right, it's this, the good, bad, and the ugly. So in that dynamic, that was the good. There was a break, and then the mother came right back in the repair, and you can see how quickly the baby was like, and then boom, now they're back and connected right there. And that's how it's built into us as children, how resilient we are as when we're young, because our mother and father, our caregivers who are bonded with us, they are our world in that developmental stage. They're our world, and connecting to them means our survival. And so we can see how resilient, because we need to be bonded to our parents and our caregivers, and that bond is so essential. And once that comes back online, now that bond is strengthened more when there was a break. Um, and again, like I talked about, parents are going to misattune to their children a lot. It is going to happen. So the pressure, and I'm speaking directly to parents, the pressure then is not to, you got to get perfect out of your mind, like Will was saying. But if you come back and you can pace yourself and move in and connect, now it's a good. It's the good. There was the bad, now you made it good. And that is what relationships are. And as you begin to get older and develop more, then you understand the dynamic of the world in a relational aspect, that you end up being grateful, that there's not a sense where you're so bitter and like, oh, this didn't work, and that's a position way to the left, or a position way to the right, like everything's all good and fine. No, it's a position of understanding that in life sometimes there is the heavy and then there is the good, and these two things work together, and that is a position of balance. And this is what the breaking and repair teaches us in development when we're children, is that if our parents are good enough, they come in, they repair, and we strengthen our ego and we move forward. And again, that video just shows this, you can just feel it, of how that is inside of us when we're little.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the topics that you're talking about now, I think why it's so important is that it just doesn't, it's not just for those formative years. Like you were talking about, these are relationship principles. So when you have a, adolescence, preteen, a teenager, adult, kids, of course, those aspects of meeting needs, having respect, honoring our kids is another huge topic that parents, especially in the the preteen age, because the cognitive function is, it's coming fully online. They are really embodying their autonomy and their individuality and expression. That needs to be honored and respected, right? So there is that relationship, that back and forth. And I mean, I still see a lot of parents nowadays, there is that authority over even their teenagers. and preteens, right? Instead of looking at it as the relationship principles where there is this back and forth. There is a break and a repair, or maybe not. But it's still, it's there regardless. And this is where the terms, daddy and mommy issues come from, where this is exactly what we're explaining. You can be an adult and you are still seeking these needs from breaks that have happened in your childhood that you're still trying to cope with and identify and figure out. And of course, we are going to be attracted to, and we're going to gravitate to qualities and characteristics of our parents within, even romantic relationships where the cycle can be propagated. And thus you get, some type of toxic relationship.
Yep, that's correct.
So, yeah.
100%, Will. Yeah, you really, that's brilliant. Yep, you put it together really well. And I was watching that video this time. You can see even in romantic relationships how this happens, where two adults, they'll be trying to connect, and something will break in the relationship, and then one of the other adults will throw a tantrum, and they'll have negative emotions, or they'll say, "Well, I don't need you," and then they'll move away, right? And it's that same dynamic that's coming up.
Yeah.
And it's again, it's okay if that rises up in all of us. That's fine. The key as adults, we have to take the responsibility to know that that's happening. Like, I see, I'm flooded right now, or I feel as if they're never coming back, or it echoes with my sense of I'm not worthy, so that echoes in with it, and then there's a panic because it feels like that partner that you're trying to bond with is now becoming your lifeline in life, and if that gets disconnected, that tantrum stuff comes up. So again, it's okay if you're feeling the baby emotions, we could say it that way. The key is that, this is happening in me, this is big. I need to process it, and I need to figure out how to connect back to begin the repair. And so as you were saying that with adults and pairing, that's what I was thinking about as well. That happens.
Yeah.
And it's tricky to navigate and to know that's happening inside of you, but getting good education, like what we're talking about, learning about these topics, that's the place to
yeah,
start.
for sure. I mean, at knowledge, 100%, because discernment comes into play. On the inverse, it can be very easy, people, and we see this in, imbalanced egos and, the narcissist, where the accountability and responsibility for themselves is missing. So it's very easy to just kind of, nail down on certain aspects without using logic, reason, and care to identify either faults or participation or what needs to be worked on. It's just kind of like a bandwagon where people just jump on it and they put everything in a box. That person is a narcissist. The relationship is narcissistic, etc. So, yeah.
Yeah, right. And that just made me think of a thought too. If you watch the little baby, the little girl, you can see how there was an injustice done to her. You can see the anger and the pressing in and trying to, they like, what are you doing here? Right? If I'm to amplify what that video was. And the narcissistic woundedness in adulthood, I can empathize with that, right? We can all empathize with that. If it really was truly the parent dropping the ball and not having the repair happen, further dropping the ball, there is an injustice. That person did cause me badness to have bad feelings, right? As a little baby, that's what that little girl was feeling as she was pressing, "Mom, this is bad. And I didn't start it. You started it, right? But as we alchemize that, as we're growing older and we get more information and we take responsibility, then it's like, okay, yes, you might have hurt me because, you didn't respond back to the text message or whatever it might be. And that was painful. Also, how does this echo back into me? Where is this landing in myself, in my heart? That's the shadow work. And that's another word where we could talk about, that's where my mind, the shadow work, right? Where is this impacting me? Because any person moving up the ladder of enlightenment, you first have to stop lying to yourself. And that's a hard thing for all of us to do, is stop lying. But like, okay, am I putting something into the mix here when I'm texting? They didn't text back, or what's happening? It's that moment of reflection.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, dude. You can see that baby recognized the initiation, that violation, and morality is written on the heart. Sure, it's written on the mind as well, right? You use logic and reason, but it's from the heart. You can feel it, and even at a young age like that, it's great, man. It's fantastic. I wanted to ask you, the effects of narcissism. Well, here, let me say this, because as I was mentioning earlier, co-parenting is the norm nowadays. Split households. It's very common to see, one parent in an extreme imbalance, embodying the narcissist archetype fully. Which ultimately, unbeknownst to them, that is directly affecting the child themselves, right? Because now you've put your own child's needs, way at the bottom of the list, and put yours ahead of that, in a very selfish way. What type of effects can that have on a child, and even in maybe even older children, around the 10, maybe 8 to 10, or any age, right? I'm sure there's probably commonalities of effects that those type of effects would have on children, and also some tips and some assistance that you can help parents, especially the other parent that can recognize that and is trying to navigate those choppy waters.
Yeah. Very, very good question, and very pertinent. Yes, correct. When I when I work with families and deal with the heavy energy that they bring into the consultation room, at the onset, if it's a co-parenting situation, both caregivers have to be involved, or a 3 caregiver, whoever's the key. I really strongly encourage all of them to come in, because we have to get everyone on the same page. This is good co-parenting. And so, sort of taking off the kitty gloves. Yes, parents, if there is a huge difficulty between you and the co-parent, and there's a lot going on, like I said before, you have to look inside and ask yourself, what am I contributing to this dynamic? Both co-parents. What am I contributing to this negative dynamic? Because it is getting in the way of helping our child grow to his or her potential. And that requires responsibility, that requires introspection, that requires looking at things you don't want to look at. It must be done as co-parents. It must be the introspection inside. What am I contributing? And both parents have to do it. Okay? Now, ideally, will that happen? We can manifest that. If it's not happening, you then advocate for that dynamic in the co-parent. Hey, we love our child. We want the best. there's a lot of tension between us, and we understand that there's tension there. Okay. Um, but I hope for you, and I will hope for me, that we will move forward and look, and I'm going to look inside what I'm contributing to this because I want the best for him or her. This is what needs to be said as you advocate for this process. And as you begin, and I've seen this happen with parents that I work with, that as they lean into that and realize that that is a good thing that they do, even if the other parent is not involved, because that's an honest approach, as they reach into that co-parenting dynamic and say, I'm going to look at this and I would really like you to do that so we can work together to protect and help our child grow in the most way that the most beautiful way they can. We need to make this happen. And if that's done, there will be movement to the positive. Okay. So that's a really sort of energetic, like, keep going, but you need to look inside. Now, the dynamics on how that impacts your child, obviously, Captain Obvious, it's not going to be good. Um, More specifically, it can end up putting the child in having being in the middle feelings. And then as parents, say, if they can maybe get kind of nasty. We're trying to avoid that. But if they do, the co-parents get nasty, or like, what's your father doing? What's your mother doing? Things like that. It's not good for the child at all. Way too much trauma and way too heavy for that process. So if you want your child to be successful, have peace inside, and do well when they get older, you're going to have to really look inside and say, what am I adding to this dynamic that's making it awful? Both of you have to do that, and then start moving forward to really help your child be successful. If you do not do that, it's not going to be good. Okay. So that's what I want to offer that. Now, the last thing I want to say is children are resilient. And I've heard a really good psychologist while I was training told me that, it's not the trauma, it's what happens after the trauma. So even though things go bump, right, the breaking, as long as there's a repair that comes along, hopefully by both co-parents, but at least by one that says, yeah, well, honey, sometimes me and your father we don't get along too well. And it's really unfortunate. It's sad, but I'm trying my best to connect with your father. I know he loves you. We're doing our best we can, but I know that's hard for you to see. Just simply observing it and giving it to your child, that will help tremendously. You're always, and this is where my mind's going, one more thing. You're always trying to put words to the environment around them as they're getting older, so they can have like, oh, okay, mom knows that dad says this about this. Mom says, okay, it's good. It's contained. You're trying to contain the sharpness. And as the co-parent who are trying to do this, you try to contain the sharpness if there is that back and forth. And then again, like I said, the advocacy for, hey, we're going to work together. I'm taking responsibility. We need to do this. Hopefully that helps.
Oh yeah, man. I'm getting a free sesh right now in your expertise in my situation.
Yeah, brother.
But yeah, dude, I resonate with that so much, and that can be difficult for parents, right? Because it's a long game. So I call it.
That's so important. You said it right there. It's a long game. This is not a microwave situation.
Yep.
It's very.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
It's what you do in those moments, and it has a compounding effect for the psychology and the health of your child, because they're taking inventory, right? Maybe not consciously, but
Correct.
subconsciously, they're taking inventory, like you said, on mom and dad, 100%. And I call it taking arrows, where sometimes you have to bite your tongue and smooth out those edges in certain situations, because in my opinion, and I would obviously love your feedback, there's always going to be a repair in some form or fashion. That repair can come in many different facets through culture, pop culture, government. I mean, this is what gangs and affiliation is all about, right? That repair, the individual is seeking that repair. You can get that through music, drugs, addiction, anything can if you're not getting it through kind of the natural, healthy, organic ways, the individual is going to seek that repair through by any means necessary.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I would even say, I would like to call it like pseudo
There you go.
repair. Like it gives this hope that it will satisfy. But the key is, as we get older, is the external, if we didn't have the repair that we needed growing up, and most of us don't, right? Most of us, it's been bumpy growing up, right? On average, it's been bumpy. But if you have to seek it as an adult. You have to say, okay, I didn't get what I needed, and I know I can't do these pseudo repair things because it's not going to help. I really need to take the time and look inward and face what I need to face. Um, that's been my journey, and I hope that it give that love to all of you listening, that that's your journey, and find safe people, find good books, good community around that to begin that, because we really need it. There's too much around us that, like you're saying, Will, they're entrepreneurs. They know that there's wounds, and they're like, oh, I know how to take that, and they can rip and pull. There's just so much around us that will distract us. These sort of psychopathic entrepreneurs that prey on our narcissistic wounds, right? So our job to be an enlightened species, to rise above the density, is really to take the responsibility that I need to look inside, and I need to find holistic, natural, like you said, the natural repair. And that's that process that we need to undertake.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, no, well said. Yeah, the vampires are thick out there, right? And you have to invite
100%
a vampire into your home, your temple. So it can be rough, and that accountability and responsibility is there as adults, and of course as parents with our young children as well, for sure. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So again, I highly recommend people go check out your Funnel 4 presentation to get some of the information on the topics that we talked about. And I want to move into your projects, your current projects, what you got going. And this is what I kind of titled in this episode, right? The liberation and education, or liberation through education, is what it is. So yeah, wherever you want to start. I know you have Natural Law Parenting, or if you want to talk about the Liberation Academy, let's do it.
Yes, yeah, we can do that. Sort of probably going off the parenting dynamic, and then I'll love to talk about the Liberation Academy. So going back to, I have this group what parents can join together. I give a presentation on natural law parenting. Some of these, what we're talking about now, just to give parents a good structure on how to think about parenting. I talk about the esoteric wisdom of what it offers us in terms of divine masculine, divine feminine, how that applies to parenting styles. I talk about the emotional process of how to parent, and I talk about the golden rule, and that's the morality piece. And so this is this is my website. It's a little splash website just so you can get the information and the group. And that ties into the other thing that I have is my YouTube channel, which is probably the more active. I have TikTok as well, but I post everywhere. But on my YouTube channel, then you can watch all my videos I do about 2-minute videos. They're little shorts, and I try to upload as much as I can. And I talk about parenting and these dynamics of nature and child development and what natural law parenting is. So I try to put that out there. I really actually enjoy it. So it's really fun, and hopefully it could be a help to you. And I really try to take the science of child development, mix it in with nature, the wisdom of nature, to help you as a parent navigate, because I'm not an expert in your child. I'm just not. But I am an expert in the dynamic of putting these things together to try to help give you some foundation and encouragement, because I've had parents in my office, and it's so hard to get through the shame and then the tension. So it has to be an encouragement and a process. So that's what I really enjoy doing. So the new group's starting up, and it's actually a reasonable price for 4 sessions in an hour and a half. So if you just email me and reach out, I'd be happy to get that going. I'd love to help anybody I can, because this is what I really like to do. So that's sort of my energy. And then what's wonderful about this energy is then our good friend Jerry, she reached out, and she's really moving in with the Liberation Academy, which is this movement of getting a school started where we're talking about how to teach children in a way that honors emotional intelligence, honors that developmental dynamic that we've been talking about, but then also incorporates all the goodness of what nature has to offer and the beauty of that. So it's liberationacademy.education is the website. We're building it out. We're doing a lot of marketing, and Jerry's really she's just wonderful of getting all this information out. And we're looking to fairly soon, probably in the next several months, to get something, a small little place in Florida to get it going, because she's down in Florida right now, and to get that going. And then what I'll be offering in there is a parent support group for the families who join. And we'll do maybe twice in the month, where we can talk about the parenting up and downs, and then you all can learn how the parenting dynamics of emotional intelligence and things like that. So that's also what we're offering in this academy, where the parents are going to get emotional support, they're going to get moral education, and it's going to be so closely tied to the Montessori system, the Waldorf system. These little pieces we're all trying to put together to really get a good foundation. So I'm trying to support and cheerlead Jerry to keep her going to create this, and she's on it. They're actually at Pork Fest, the Freedom Fest in New Hampshire right now. Porcupine Fest, yep. And they're going to be doing a small little camp for the children there. So they're trying to get all that going. But yeah, we got a good faculty of people that are teaching, some from the One Great Work Network and all this stuff, an online portion that we're trying to do. So a lot of energy is going that way. And so if you want to support us or get to know, you can reach out to me, and you can reach out to Jerry, and we can figure this out.
That's fantastic, man. This is what we need. And I was telling you before we went live that I've had so many messages of people reaching out to me looking for something like this. And we really need to make this a tradition. These need to be, obviously within individual family dynamics within the home. Like you said, I don't know your child, but there are these principles that we can talk about that need to be incorporated within the home themselves. And of course, community and groups and actual, facility locations where people can go. I think that's fantastic, because understanding moral principles, natural law, and understanding the aspects of healthy relationships like we talked about today are vital and important. And you're just not going to get that in public school or, modern education, those aspects.
Yes.
Quite the opposite.
Not going to happen.
100%. So
correct.
I love it. This is such a huge, huge category. So it's fantastic. And again, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So for my more sort of advocacy work for objective morality and talking about all the fun stuff about esoteric knowledge, that's freeasabove.xyz. And then my doctoral page, drdustinplattner.com, is for my private practice. And I was just on with Sarah Cross with Jerry, and they were talking about the Liberation Academy.
Excellent.
And then, drdustinplattner.com is my private practice. I work from a private membership association. And so you become a member inside the association. And that's how I navigate space, because obviously I don't have anyone go against any sort of my guiding principles. Governments go against those guiding principles. So I want to make sure that we're all safe inside a membership association. So there's my natural law parenting group, and then my blog post, and then my social media is on there as well. So I'll be happy to answer any questions or help anyone that needs it to get going. I'm actually speaking at the local library here in August. about emotional intelligent parenting. Yeah, so I got that going. So yeah, free community support to get parents out there and stuff like that. So yeah,
Man, you are
yeah.
a jack of all trades, like what I called on Chris Jansen's show just recently last week, a Renaissance man. Like you have so many aspects that you
Oh
offer,
yeah,
and that is very important. You're extremely tech savvy. You obviously are running a ethical. You have right livelihood, an ethical business, and you know you're doing it through the
yes,
PMAs, using cryptocurrency. So you're using these forms of sovereign associations, and I love it. That's great. People can learn even those
yeah.
aspects from you and implement those in their daily lives.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Will. That means a lot. It is really to live right, to do right living now in this planet. It's very hard to do, and it takes a lot of boldness. And I'm proud of myself, but it's not easy doing this and doing it right and doing something in the private that honors humanity and doing something away from government overreach. It's been an endeavor, but I'm I needed to do it, and so that's what I've been leaning into. So I appreciate you
That's
seeing that.
fantastic, man. Excellent. I want to go to the chat. Let's see if there's any questions in there and
Sure.
see
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
got. And again, thank you all for joining. Appreciate the engagement.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Let's
Hmm.
see. Apocalypse of the Occult. What can we do as parents or parent do if those formative years are now history for our young adult children?
Oh, that's a
Yep,
beautiful
it's a great
question.
one.
Um, what came to my mind right away is what we were talking about. Just start the another thing is I get really excited about this. So really simple. This is what I teach in my videos, my YouTube short video. I'm actually talking about this now. How to approach your child. And you can start at any time. Observe, um, label, and then reflect. So as they're adults now, as they bring something to you, oh, Dad, I just got a new car, and and then I hit a curb or whatever, and now I busted up the bumper. Okay, boom, you got that. Now the second thing is you observe inside. Well, how did that feel? This is what I teach in my emotional intelligent parenting. Happy, sad, scared, shame, or anger. The 5 basic emotions. How do I feel as he's telling me that, my child? Uh, oh, scared or shocked. Okay, fear or surprise, right? Okay. So observe. Now label. Oh, do you label it back? Oh, I bet that was disappointing or shocking. Done. You just did the first 2. And then the last one is instruct. How can I help you, son? Right there. Those 3, observe, label, and instruct. How can I help? What's the action? That begins the process of now that they know that you see them. You just observed back their world, how the emotion about it and the intellectual thought, and then you reached out to connect. That's how you begin that process over and over. Now, this is what you aim for. You're not going to do it every time, but just hold that in your mind as you keep aiming to reach out to your children. And you're going to see you're going to see your children be like, they want to talk to you more. They want to be around you more. They're going to want to call you more for advice because you're listening to them and you're listening to their emotional world.
Great points, man. Great points. She had a second comment, or he. Sorry, not sure. Especially when the parents could not see eye to eye during those years, those formative years. And yet, what you said was great. And I was kind of, as you were talking, I was reflecting on my childhood and also me as a parent now. And here's another thing that I hear parents talk about. They go, you need be a parent to your child. Don't be their friend. It's mainly, don't be your child's friend. You're the parent, so you have the authority, etc., etc. And I disagree with that 100%, because when you have a friendship, there is mutual respect there. there is care and consideration. You hear your friends out, right? Whenever there's an issue, and it goes back and forth. And that absolutely needs to be part of even our relationships with our children. And it's exactly what you were pointing out: seeing them, hearing them out, relating to them, offering service and assistance. And that's exactly what we do with our friends. So, and that's
Yes.
exactly how I parent as
Yeah.
well. Like my daughter and I, we
Mhm.
rarely have any kind of confrontation because she respects me and I respect her. If she does something to
Correct.
disrespect me, I let her know. She hears me out and she corrects herself,
Correct.
and vice versa. I do the same thing. So you get this harmony, this symbiosis. And I think, to kind of add on to this question too about how do we reach our adult children now when it comes to certain topics of the world, again, it's a very similar kind of format. Well, you have to relate to them, right? So you have to observe, let them talk, right? Let them talk and get where their stance is, their position, and then move into certain aspects that they can relate to try, so you can try to shed some kind of education and see how they respond to that. So
100%. Yeah, that's beautiful. And that comment going back, oh, you're welcome. Of course, Apocalypse of the Occult, you're welcome. And I want to add one more thing to that. If they didn't see eye to eye, I'm just going to use that formula again. Honey, I was thinking, honey, that I know we didn't see eye to eye growing up, and now you're just observing, and now you're going to label. It might have been hard for you. If you need anything to talk about it, I'm here, and I want to do the best to listen to you. Stop talking. You've just invited them into your world, and you're saying that you want to be there and listen to them. That's how you begin that process.
fantastic. 100%, man. I agree with that. That's great because, I mean, again, we're having this conversation. I'm naturally going to reflect on my relationship with my daughter and the relationship that I had with my parents as well. And they were very open, like morality and respect at the top of the list. 100%. Like, probably one of the greatest sins that I could do towards my parents was lie to them. If I lied to my dad or my mom, it was just disheartening. It wasn't like I was going to get my ass whooped or something like that. It was just like, you broke trust and respect, and you could feel that. And, I have merged that into my relationship nowadays with my daughter. So yeah, man, those are all fantastic points. And these topics that we talk about when we're talking about these attributes in a relationship, I mean, at least for me, they seem very common sense. And this is kind of why we talk about this kind of stuff, because for a lot of people, it is not. It's programming and conditioning that has been passed down from years and years. And a lot of parents don't even think about things like this, right? They were raised one way.
100%.
They're raising their kids a very similar way. So
Yeah. I just kind of came to me as you were talking. What we're talking about is sort of like the science of human bonding, or we would say operationalizing. It's a kind of intellectual word, but operationalizing human bonding. And we're touching on these points that really we all can move into the sort of common sense process of us as parents, how to connect, how to relate, as you were saying, and I'm saying it, observe, label, and reflect. But it's just honoring that process, because that's how we're built. And this energy keeps needing being put into us as a society as we keep going.
absolutely. Yeah, well said. Apocalypse of the Occult. That's great that you do that. I think that is an attribute that parents really need to utilize, and explaining either their instructions, their decision, why they do a certain thing, why they are saying a certain thing. Like, explanation is information. It's information for a child to understand, and it adds to the pot. So, great point that person brings up. Let me see here. Any other questions from anyone? And let's see. I think that's about it.
Well, I want to add, if you're looking there, I want to add this one point. You talk about respect, Will, and I really appreciate that you've highlighted it, because I've heard you say that before, which is really important. And yeah, that's key, because it's honoring the other being in front of you, your child who you're responsible for and you're in stewardship of. It's honoring, where authority perverts that and crushes it and makes it dense and it falls apart, which doesn't help us expand. Authority is sort of like it's a disease, right? But the way you're saying it is, it's a respect and honor of the being in front of us. And yes, they don't have the full mind yet. And yes, they're in development. And yes, there's a lot of responsibility on the parent, correct? But you still honor the child's mind, because you're thinking about, oh, what might they be feeling? What might they be thinking? What might they be confused on? How do I put the world together so they can grasp onto it, so they can move forward? How do I build that scaffolding in them? And that whole process is because you respect them. And the reason why the reason why you can respect them is because you respect yourself, and you would want that done to you. Right. And so this is that dynamic.
Absolutely. 100%. And, a big kind of chunk of your funnel presentation was on narcissism, was obviously the self-loathing aspect. And this is, extremely, extremely important. Actually, to be honest, I'll announce it now, and I'm not sure when it's going to be. It's kind of, I don't know, second or third as far as projects. When you did your Funnel 4 presentation, I started over the next few weeks, I made an outline for a presentation called Silent Chains. And it's pretty much initiated from that aspect that government is a narcissist. And I go through all the different categories and methods of manipulation and etc. And we might have talked about this on our last episode, but the way the state operates is exactly like an out of control narcissist. And I find it interesting that people can relate to that and then even honor that and respect that, because the method of detaching that process of energetic self-defense and self-respect and self-love that you would perform when an individual is violating you, a narcissist is violating you, it's still the same thing as government and the state, right? That self-love and respect and that accountability and responsibility must be there, where we can recognize the narcissist of the state itself and detach from that and defend ourselves.
Brilliant. Yep. That's right on. And that's the play. And this is some of Passio's work that he's talked about, right? Mark, he's talked about these things of how we play into that. It's right there. When you have that wound, the state's right there to take you in and move you in, because you're trying to get rid of the anxiety inside of you. The anxiety of fear, of being disconnected, of being unsafe, or the narcissistic piece, being attacked. Part of narcissistic personality disorder, when it's in the adult and it's more solidified, is walking on eggshells. And is this not how we work with government? You want to make sure you pay everything, and you driving now, you want to make sure you cops give you it's a mess. It's a mess. And so it's that same thing of walking on eggshells and all that process. And so, yeah, I think that's a great way to sort of start thinking about this process of self-care. Like, no, I can keep myself safe. I can take responsibility, and I harm no one. Right. That is that respect that you care for yourself.
Yeah, man. 100%. kind of something that I've said many times, and I've had even people get upset at me about what I'm about to say, is that in any and every situation or interaction or relationship, there is accountability on both sides. Regardless if something horrible happened to you where you fully are the victim, that, that maybe 0.05% of accountability is still there and still needs to be kind of recognized. And because we sometimes, unbeknownst to ourselves, we put ourselves into certain situations, or we interact or get involved in certain situations or certain people. But thinking about that and having that mindset of accountability is always there, because this is a relationship. It is two ways or multiple ways. There's always going to be some type of energy that I have exerted into a certain situation. Identifying that and recognizing that is a healthy way. At least for me, it is. And I think it's healthy for, kind of almost a standard to look at, but especially for the parental arena, and mainly for the reasons that you mentioned earlier, right? We have that accountability dynamic on both sides. So once we identify that, we can stand outside and recognize either the harm or the benefit that it will contribute to the whole, meaning our children or the family in totality, or whatever it may be, society, or, a group, a community. So yeah, accountability across the board, 100%. So.
It's a huge way. It's a huge path to freedom, is taking responsibility. It's very hard to do. It can be done. And as I've learned to take more responsibility in my life for things, it gets easier. But yeah, that's why we don't do it. We really want to just whatever. But really, that's our path to freedom, is taking responsibility.
100%, man. Fantastic points, man. This was a great discussion.
Yeah, it was really good.
I think we'll wrap it up right now, but man, we got to do more of these. There's so many just jewels of information, and the work that you're doing is fantastic. I highly recommend people connect with you, reach out to you, check out the Natural Law Parenting, naturallawparenting.com, and your other website was Dr. Dustin.
DustinPlattner.com. Just my name with the DR in front of it, and that's my private practice website. Yep.
Perfect. I'll put all these links in the description. Thanks for joining me, man. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah,
for
it's been
sure.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks for everyone that tuned in. And again, this is the Will Tell Truth podcast series. I definitely want to do more of these. I enjoy live streaming. I enjoy having powerful conversations with active individuals like Dustin, especially doing the one great work of contributing and collaborating to end slavery in the world. And of course, we do that through knowledge and action. So my name is Will Keller. You can get to all my content and platforms, social media platforms, on willkeller.com. And I'm going to take a sip of my Hydro Spark. I've never had a sponsor before, but I figure if I'm going to have a sponsor within Right Livelihood, I'm going to start my own business. And of course, it's Ostara Hydrogen Therapy. This is one of our products where we use molecular hydrogen therapy, which is a therapeutic agent, a powerful antioxidant to heal the body, keep the body in homeostasis, and eradicate the toxicities and combat the attacks, the biological attacks, the energetic attacks that we are experiencing, and for general upkeep and well-being. Of course, go to ostarahydrogentherapy.com and you can check out those. And also, let me see, I think I created this. There we go. HydroSpark. You could see the other devices that we have, and on that website as well. Use code WILL10 for 10% off. And hold on a second. Let me minimize this. Dustin's still on here. How do you like your HydroSpark?
Yeah,
Okay.
brother, I love it. Yep, I have it. I have it every morning. I totally forgot to say that. Yep, I have that one right there. Yep, I put it in, and it's really good because after you sleep, you're so dehydrated. So yeah, I like it.
That's great, man.
Love it,
Great to
man.
hear. Appreciate that. And we've gotten a lot of fantastic comments and responses from people that have been using hydrogen therapy. I've known about it and used about it for over 13 years. It's fantastic. So people can go check that out. You can get to everything on willkeller.com. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good day. Have a good evening. Dustin, appreciate you, brother. Keep up the great work.
You too, brother. Thank
All
you.
right.
Appreciate
You guys
it.
take care.